So that was About That Action by T. Powell. If you're just now tuning in, this is WRGG Warrior Empowerment Hour on 93.7. This is Mr. Too Easy, me, Don Brown, telling you about my experiences before, during, and after the military. 16 years Army, several deployments, 3 combat deployments. So it's great. It's wonderful. So we was talking about combat PTSD. So I know some of the things I suffer from was the isolation part of it, the hypervigilance part of it, the numbness, and other little things too, the flashbacks, the nightmares, intrusive thoughts. So one is pretty. Excuse me. Sorry about that. One is pretty easy to do is the isolation part, at least for me. Okay, so I don't speak for all veterans. This is just my opinion. But I isolated a whole lot. Didn't want to go out to stores. Didn't want to go out to restaurants like I used to. Also used to bowl on 3 bowling leagues. I kind of stopped doing that. It was just the fear of the crowds. The fear of, for me, was the crowds. The fear of just being around people that may not understand what I'm going through. It's kind of, what they say in therapy, you can't forecast. So I was kind of forecasting how someone may view me or see me. And it was just, for me, it was more of on how the media had put it out there with combat veterans for the Iraq War and stuff like that. And when I talked to other warriors, other veterans like the Vietnam era guys and girls, it was just tragic when they first got back. People yelled at them, threw stuff on them, called them derogatory names, and it was sad. And I got to experience a little bit of that when I flew into Seattle, Washington, because you had some people, young folks that didn't understand it, yelling out, "Well, you fighting this man's war" and all this stuff. Look here, man, this is what I do for a living, and it was a little confusing, but hey, we get back, we get in our unit. Hey, man, what are you gonna do, man? I'm going to the bar. I'm getting something to drink, and you kind of blocked it off. And if you keep pushing stuff off, and as I always say, my family would say, don't put things on the back burner. Where you keep putting it on the back burner, eventually that burner is turned on. It's going to start simmering, it's going to boil over. But you keep putting more stuff on that back burner, and the next thing you know, the kitchen burns down. Okay, that's my analogy, okay? So the kitchen really didn't burn down, but that's an analogy. So, but it took a lot, for my wife to recognize what I was doing, and it took a lot of understanding for me when I first, started getting my treatment. And it was just strange because I was like, no, I'm not isolating. I'm just comfortable in my room. No, I'll come out there, because I wouldn't even eat at the dinner table. It was like, I'm eating in my room. So it gotten that bad. So, and it just wasn't from just strange. It was just from my regular everyday family, my children, my wife and stuff. It was just, no, I'm fine in the room, and I never really thought about it like that. And it's like, no, I'm just comfortable in here. I'm gonna listen to some music, watch some TV, and then that's it. And I just stayed into my own head, kind of so to speak, just thinking. And of course, when you do that, when I did that, I had more flashbacks come up because my mind was just thinking about all the negativity. Wasn't thinking that, oh, you have 2 wonderful children out there. They would like to have dinner with you, sit at the table. You have a wife that just cooked all day in the kitchen, a few hours in the kitchen for this wonderful meal, and you're just going to sit in your room and eat instead of sitting at the table. My mind didn't go there. It was just, this is my comfortable zone. This is my spot, And then, of course, it trickled in, not going out to restaurants. And if I did go out to a restaurant, of course, my wife called ahead. He doesn't like to sit with his back to the door. Can you can you have seating available for this? And these were just restaurants that didn't require reservations. So imagine calling like a Ruby Tuesday, Texas Roadhouse, or Rosalie's, stuff like that. You don't really need a reservation for these places. A Patton Collins. But, and this is why, and I'm sure, I don't know what they were thinking, but, the person on the other end of the phone was like, yeah, we have seating like that. They don't have to sit to their back to the door. And they probably didn't really understand. But, they obliged, were like, yeah, we'll have seating for you guys, But, when I think about it now, it's like, man, I just didn't inconvenience my family. I can inconvenience people at the restaurants, or, stuff like that. And it may not seem big to the other person, because you get calls all day long working in, different places. Like, okay, yeah, we can find you a seat that won't have your back to the door. But to me, after realizing everything that, I put my spouse through, my family through, then it does trickle over to, okay, I just called this place that I don't need a reservation for, but I'm making a reservation to make sure I get a certain seat. And when I think about it like that, it's like, that may be an inconvenience to somebody. You know what I mean? Not directly, but it may be indirectly. You never know. And that's the kind of things that, thought through my head. And I was like, well, I don't want to go through that again, so let's don't do that. Then, going to Walmart or Kmart or Ames or JCPenney's, any place, Wegmans. It was just, I didn't like the crowd. I didn't like the clanging of the carts. Didn't like the loud noises. So, I go at 2 a.m., and it was just comfortable because guess what? There's only a few people at Walmart at 2 a.m. You have the people that's restocking, and then you have maybe 2 or 3 cashiers, but these days you have one cashier and you may have self-checkout open or something like that. It is what it is. But at least they're open 24 hours. That's the main purpose. So, I'll do my shopping then. That way it's more comfortable for me. It feels like, it's wide open. So it's like, okay, great. So that's just for me personally. Other people may feel differently. Some people, they don't mind the large crowds, but then they don't like the noise. So you got to kind of weigh it out a little bit. At least I had to, because I didn't like the loud noise nor the crowds. So, and another thing was on how a person gets flashbacks and nightmares also is from your senses: taste, smell, sight, hearing, touch. So, like burning, we call it stirring the pot, but it's basically burning the bathroom stuff, the bathroom waste. Because we didn't always have porta potties. We had an engineering company, not a company, but a unit came out and made these kind of like a wooden porta potty with a screen door or with a half a door because it got hot. So of course you only wanted to cover up, your midsection so they wouldn't see that. So, you sat down, and then underneath the hole was a half a 50-gallon drum slid underneath it. So you did your business. And of course, throughout the day, each unit and each platoon, shared purposes of pulling it out, pouring the diesel fluid in there, burning and stirring it until it was all gone. So, but no one thought to say, hey, put on your pro mask or buy this, what they call them, the N94 safety mask. No one thought about that overseas. It's not they didn't care, but it's like, hey, you're burning feces or poop or whatever you want to call it. Burn it so that way it'll be empty. The next person go in there and use the bathroom. So when you go to the VA and they call it the burn pit registry, and the first thing, some of these civilian doctors that was new to this, well, they didn't give you guys a mask? Really? You really think the Army or the military is going to say, hey, you have to burn poop, so put on this mask that we paid a couple $100s for, or put on your pro mask and burn up that canister just in case you get hit with some kind of chemical warfare. It's just, you got to use common sense sometime. And no, in 03, no, they didn't give you. You got your mop gear, you got your uniforms, and you got your boots, your weapon, and your ammo, and MREs, and all the water you can drink. And that was it. So, you had to make your own. You had to make do what you had. No one. I'm not gonna say they didn't plan for the war, but no one thought about the OSHA part of the war. So, and our warriors now are paying for it. I have COPD because of it, but it is what it is. I don't have no regrets. But hopefully, moving forward, with the different era of military, maybe those guys may have them. I don't know. But it is what it is. But little things like that, like when I used to drive, driving on the road, going from Chambersburg to Martinsburg, West Virginia. Guess what? If I see a shiny object on the side of the road, it gives me a flashback. I panicked one time, actually ran off the road because I thought it was an IED. Those things are real, and some people don't understand. I was just fortunate enough that the officer that did see me on the side of the road after I basically wrecked my truck and saw all the grass and mud underneath it because I went into the medium. He kind of understood when he saw the little Army veteran sticker. He was like, "Man, are you okay? You know, get yourself together." Da 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 da. Da. And you know, he kind of sat with me, talked with me, and stuff like that. And that's just part of being human, okay? And I can't stress that enough. You know, that officer didn't have to do. The officer could have said, "You know what? Here's your ticket," or "Let me get your tow truck and call an ambulance out here," and he roll out. He didn't do that, you know. But you know, he was like, "Hey, you know what? I don't know what you're going through, but hey, I'm here. Let's get yourself together. You know where you're going to." I told him I was going to my doctor's appointment. He said, "Hey, do we need to call ahead?" You know, stuff like that. So he was very compassionate. He was very humane. He was very human. So and that's the real thing about living in an area like this in the area that we live in, at least I live in. You do have some caring people that's in this area, which is wonderful. You know, I can't say that enough. It's just because, and the reason I stress it so much because on the regular media, no matter what station it is, you always see negativity when it comes to police officers. You know, just what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, where the Pennsylvania state trooper gets shot at a routine stop at like 4 a.m. and he didn't pass away. You know, but they took him to ER and he's recovering. And the person that shot him, they arrested him. You know, he didn't get tased, he didn't get shot back. They tackled him, arrested him. Boom, he's got to see the judge or whatever that process is. But it's not all negative when it comes to police officers. And I just wish that the media wouldn't portray so much negativity. Now, that's one reason why I don't watch the news. It's just too much negativity. You know, I wish it was more in there. Oh, save the person from this, save the person from that. You don't hear about that, and that's sad. But I definitely give my hat off to all the first responders all over the United States of America, and especially to the ones that I interact with every single day of my life, especially in my area that I live in, Franklin County, Pennsylvania, Hagerstown, Martinsburg, West Virginia, all the ones I interact with. My hat goes off to you tenfold. So, but back to it, I made it to my appointment or whatever, and then, of course, I had a diesel truck at the time. And of course, you never want to hear from one of your treatment team members that you have to get rid of a vehicle because it's causing you more flashbacks. So, of course, I argued the point. I was like, that sounds stupid, doc. Why would I want to get rid of a diesel vehicle? Well, let's see. Humvee, diesel. Engine for the F-350 is diesel. I smell the fumes. I hear the engine. It gives me those senses of that flashback. So, of course, it's not as wide as a Humvee, maybe not as low as a Humvee, and it damn sure don't drop as slow as a Humvee. Maxed out at 70, but it's actually 80. It's just those little symptoms, those little minor things that triggers flashbacks that I never really thought about. So, my doctor did what she had to do, wrote a letter to my the person I bought the car from, Ford dealer, and, explained to him, and it went all the way up the chain. It was like, this was really unheard of. Returning a vehicle because of medical reasons of, combat PTSD, which is weird. It's not like, if I'm handicapped like an amputee, they can make a modification with the door, with the steering wheel. This was something totally unheard of. It really was. So, it was a learning experience for everybody, but it's just those minor things that we think that wouldn't affect our everyday living. It actually does. So, but, worked it out, did what I had to do, went and I think I got a Ford Windstar or something, little minivan or something like that, or I forgot what it was, but it wasn't a diesel anymore. And I wasn't trying to go down to a F-150 because those things are gas guzzlers. But it was just wild. It was just wicked. But now I'm a lot better in my recovery of the new me with combat PTSD, TBI, and other little elements from, my experience in the military, which was good for me. I have nothing negative to say about the Army, because if I can do it all over again, I would. No matter if I know I'm going to have combat PTSD, if I know I may commit suicide, attempt to commit suicide, I still would do it all over again for the simple fact I love this country. I love my life, and I love protecting, and that's just the way I am. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm sure I've spoken to many warriors out there. They would do it all over again. And I'm sure these caring police officers, if they knew the things they knew now before they went to the academy, they would still do it too, because they're doing it for, it's something that's greater than them. They're protecting us, stateside, county side, city side, whatever you want to call it. They're protecting us here, safe in our homes. So, and the military's protecting us from abroad, from terrorists and stuff like that. So everyone has a part, goes down to a person that pumps gas. Everyone has a part. Everyone has a part in life. So I take that away from nobody. Everyone has their part. But I've learned a lot through this journey, and I'm learning every single day. Really, I am. And I love meeting different people, getting different outlooks, and I love answering questions. People ask me all the time. I tell them I'm an open book. You can Google me. I'm an open book. I have no reason to lie to you. And I don't sugarcoat anything. I sugarcoat it for the radio. But if in person, I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth. But it is what it is. But let me play one more. This might be my final song. Yeah, it's almost time for me to go. So for those listeners out there, if you're tuning in, this is WRGG 93.7 here in Greencastle, and this is Warrior Empowerment Hour. I'm Mr. Too Easy, Don Brown, and I just talk about my life before, doing, and after the military. Did 16 years Army, 3 combat tours, several other tours to regular countries for humanity reasons, and just to do support and rebuild. So been all over God's green earth, and I love it. And I have a wonderful family that supports me, and I have a wonderful treatment team, and a wonderful town and county and state that supports all people, no matter what your job, no matter what your race is, no matter what your creed is, no matter what your color is. And I love this state of Pennsylvania. But Franklin County is wonderful, and it's just awesome to see the process of the everyday living when you're not on not in the middle of the hustle and bustle. Because let me tell you something, when you come from a big city and then you come to like a Chambersburg, it's a totally different outlook, and you get to kind of, as my grandmother used to say, you have to sit back and smell the roses. So I get to sit back and smell the roses and be like, wow, this is what I've been doing my whole life, hustle and bustle. And I could have been residing in a place like this, chilling. But everything happens in life for a reason, so and all the negative things that may happen, or the not so positive things that happen in life, makes you stronger. I tell my children, do not have regrets. It's all learning experience. You learn from every single thing. When you're a child and that stove is hot, that oven door is hot, not to touch it again. If you see that light on, if you see something glowing orange, not to touch it. So everything is a learning experience. It's not a regret. It's a learning experience. And if we live life like that, we'll be in a better place. And as I always say, you have to be mentally strong, physically strong, socially strong, and spiritually strong. So I'm going to end with my music always. Wiz Khalifa, see you again, because guess what, guys? I will see you again.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.
Right.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Tell me.
When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. See you in a better place.
How we gonna get through when we're done with my family, so all we got.
Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day
Yes.
without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Yes.
Come a long way
Long way.
from
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Mm-hmm. Come on now.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. It was small, turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken. The love will never get lost.
Yes, come on now.
And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach. So remember me when I'm gone.
I remember.
How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Let the light guide your way. Yeah.
Be mentally strong,
Hold every memory as you go.
physically strong,
And every road you take
socially strong,
will always lead you home. Oh,
and spiritually strong.
it's been a long day
Yes.
without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
I'm all ears.
We've come a long way
Mm-hmm.
from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about
Tell me,
it
tell me,
when
tell
I
me.
see you again. When I see you again.
Yes.